Hey, welcome to Book World: The Great Escape. I'm author CJ Peterson. Over here is my co-host, author Michael Scott Clifton. Down below, we have Brandon Jones from Imagine, Arkansas, who we'll get to in just a minute. Mike, how are things in your author world?
Pretty busy. We, as you well know, we had the Longview or East Texas Comic Con last weekend, and we did really well. And there was a lot of people there, as you well know, and and that's close to home for us. So it's nice to be able to go to a Comic Con where you're not driving hours and hours away to get to them. And anyway, we had a really good time, and like I said, we did very well at the Comic Con. I've got another one coming up. The Bell County Comic Con is going to be August 1st and 2nd. That's a huge Comic Con that is held in Belton, around Temple, South Central Texas, and we've always done really well there. But it is about a 5-hour drive to get there from Mount Pleasant. So that'll be the next weekend, and then there is an author fest that we'll be attending at the W. Walworth Harrison Public Library in Greenville, Texas. We went to it a couple of years ago. They actually had it in the library, and they outgrew that very quickly. So they're now having it in the convention center, and there'll be over 70 authors there. If you can't find a book in a genre that you like, then there probably isn't one. So we're looking forward to it, and I like those kind of events because whereas you may not sell a bunch of books, it's a great chance to network with fellow authors and, talk and renew connections and things because, we often cross paths. And of course, we're supportive of each other as well and want them to be successful. And then at the end of August is the Piney Woods Comic Con, which will be in Lufkin, Texas, which is not far from where Melanie and I graduated from college at SFA Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches. So we're kind of familiar with the area. So we're looking forward to that. And I got a phone call last night. I have to be careful because I don't know about you, Brandon, and you, CJ, but I get a lot of spammers and scammers. It's unceasing. And usually when I don't recognize a phone call, I'm not going to answer it. But this one had a area code that was, from where we live, and they called back after I didn't answer, and it turned out it was a person who worked at Reach 8 here, which was a consortium of about 75 schools where I taught public educator for 38 years, and she was I think their curriculum director. Anyway, she belongs to, she's now retired, but they have a readers group, a retired teachers readers group, and they want me to come present
Nice.
what I do, how I became a writer, and bring books with me. So that came out of the blue. So it always makes you feel good when you get things opportunities like that. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I enjoy visiting with groups, with clubs, creative writing groups, etc., because you get a chance, to sort of talk about how the craft, so to speak, instead of just always promoting your books. So I really enjoy that. And anyway, that's what's up with me for this week.
Awesome. That's very cool. Yep. This weekend, we had the East Texas Comic Con in Longview, as you said. And I had my Star Wars costume on, and Vic Mignogna actually named my original character because, as some of you know and some of you don't, there was not a red-headed Jedi Knight. And so I made an original character, and he said, "Do you have a name for it?" And I said, "No," because I have a backstory for her. I just didn't have a name for her. And so he named my red-headed Jedi Knight character, and the name is Kane Juten. So I thought that was pretty cool. So now it has a name. So my original character has a name. But as far as the author world, this weekend I actually picked up 2 really cool books from this really cool author. I wonder who that could be.
I hear they're good books.
Yeah, could it be that they're from, I don't know, author Michael Scott Clifton? Oh my gosh, signed autographed books from, oh my gosh, author Michael Scott Clifton. Very cool. So I got some cool books for this weekend. And yeah, there were 3,200 people at the East Texas Comic Con, so it was very well attended. Tons of fun. And I love the Comic Cons that I actually run because they are family friendly, and I love the fact that we can advertise it. We have a cosplay showcase on Saturday, and then we have, and it's all ages, and then we have the cosplay parade on Sunday. And my favorite part, I love the cosplay costumes. I mean, they're amazing. Being a cosplayer myself, I have several different ones, but my favorites are the littles. The littles are just downright adorable. And there was one actual little baby who was an Ewok. So cute. And so I love the cosplays, and I love the fact that the parents bring the kids out, especially. And the older ones have these intricate cosplays that were just phenomenal. And then there was everything on the in between, and they were just amazing. We literally had somewhere between 53 to 56 cosplayers, and they were hands down phenomenal this year. So anyone who came out and who did them, you guys were amazing. So well done. We also have, as you said, we have Piney Woods Comic Con in Lufkin, Texas on the 29th and 30th. Mark your calendars for that. And then on the 19th and 20th of September, Victoria Fan Fest down in Victoria, Texas. So mark your calendars for that one as well. Again, they're all family friendly, the ones that I run. And we have cosplay showcase. So make sure to come down, bring your favorite cosplay out there. I usually am in a cosplay on Saturday, and we'll see what I can come up with. I have some good ones. So each one's always fun. As far as my author world, as far as my books, I actually have one coming out soon. It's the multi-author one, and it's a fantasy one regarding dragons. That's the first one to come out. And I'm working on the trilogy as well, but I need that first one to come out before I can continue working on the trilogy one. But those are coming out soon. So that's what's going on in my author world. But today, we're going to be walking with Brandon Jones of Imagine Arkansas. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed all that, and now I need a nap because y'all have done so much. I'm so tired now.
Oh, thank you. So Imagine Arkansas. For those who don't know, why don't you explain first of all what it is?
So Imagine Arkansas is a nonprofit 501(c) that operates in the state of Arkansas. This is our first full year, and we donate comic books, graphic novels to kids, say through schools, libraries, CYS, anywhere there are kids to teenagers present. We donate those free of charge. And just to help literacy rates, and there's all this data on comic books and how they help reading comprehension and all that. So that's pretty much the gist of it.
Now, I saw online the pictures that you sent me. They had backpacks. So do you give them backpacks and comic books?
So we did a backpack drive last year, and then this year we've doubled the size of backpacks that we have that we're going to give out. So of course we do school supplies in those, but we also throw in several comic books and things like that.
Oh, nice.
Stickers, stuff that kids like, right? And adults too, I suppose. But just to get interest in reading, especially comics.
And
That's very cool.
that's as I was a public educator for 38 years, principal for 17, and getting kids to read, particularly boys. Okay, girls at some time, but it was a real problem with boys, and it took me a while, Brandon, to sort of come to grips with graphic novels that we were starting to push, in the library, until I had a conversation with our librarian, and she told me that reading for some of them was something they did not enjoy, and it was a challenge, and that you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. And that graphic novels, comic books, as well, were a form. You have to read. It may not have the same amount of print on the page as say a regular normal book, but the fact is, the whole purpose and effort of pushing graphic novels to reluctant readers was to get them started reading. because you have to start somewhere. And, it made sense to me then after talking, but it didn't make sense to me before that. And so that is a great mission, what you're doing, because reading and anything that gets kids reading, as you had pointed out, is something that we should all push. And you have to start somewhere. You never know what a graphic novel will lead to, but even if it doesn't ever lead to, a novel like War and Peace or, Great Expectations or something like that, the fact that reading is taking place is an important thing. And I commend y'all, your organization, for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah. Can I piggyback on that, or do you guys have another question?
Go ahead.
All right. So this whole thing started at the request of teachers. Is there some comic books that you can give me to put in my class to get these kids to read, which echoes the very same sentiment that you had, right?
Right.
And so that was back in 2023. So we did that a little while. And then in 2024, my business partner, he moved to Mississippi and divested. And we were also in a small convention business with someone who turned out to be not a very good person, right? So as we broke off those business relationships, we're like, what can we do now? Because our whole approach with the comic shop has always been very community minded. But, pushing free comics and getting people to donate to the store didn't really have the same, didn't feel like it would have the same impact as, say, a nonprofit. And so we decided, in all the chaos of 2024, that we would start a 501(c). And so that's how it started. And then I used a group out of Nashville that sets up nonprofits, because it's crazy amount of paperwork on the federal side. And all of them are former teachers. So I had a phone call with the lady who works there, and she has an autistic son. And he refused to read anything until he picked up a comic book. And so she was telling me how impactful. She was crying. This lady was crying on the phone. And she was just telling me how amazing this whole idea is and how she was excited and all that. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes it's a comic book that gets people going. And she said he was like reading newspapers and all this other stuff now. So stuff like that is, that's really the reward that we get from doing this.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So when you started doing this, how did you get into like the different schools and stuff? Because you said initially the teachers got a hold of you and that's how it started, but how did it start to grow? How were you able to connect to the other different schools?
Well, I'm from here, so that helps, right? So I know a lot of people. But also when the board came on, they also had a lot of connections too. Then we have a lot of customers that are teachers and things like that. So it really was just more like a word of mouth marketing type deal. Because when we were setting up and we were, it cost, I don't know, several $1,000s to do all this. We fundraised a lot of that money. We invited people to donate for this. So then that's another way they invested in, and they were like, oh, we want to be a part of this too, right? And so it pretty much just spread from there. And it hasn't stopped.
So do you do drives to get the comics in and the different backpacks and stuff?
So currently we're doing a backpack drive. I say that we buy the backpacks, and then we invite people to donate either money for the supplies or the supplies to fill the books. Now, as far as like comic books and stuff, we can buy those from the distributors, like, through the shop or whatever. Mm-hmm. But 98% of everything we get is all donated. People are more than happy to bring in stacks of books. It's like, here, give these to kids. We also do like a Facebook auction page once a week. So we have like a comic guest in the store. We used to have them every month. Now we don't. But they'll donate a bunch of their books, sign them, so that we can fundraise from those too. So that's also a part of it. Yeah.
And that's been since 2023.
No. Well, the idea started in 2023, but the nonprofit itself didn't. We didn't get the federal approval until about this time last year.
Okay.
But we started it at the end of 2024. It's a pretty long, drawn out process. Essentially, the state's like, yes, and then the feds are like, and then you get an email one day and you're like, oh, we're official. So that's how it goes.
Yeah,
Real
glacially slow.
slow.
Yeah, there was no hurry. Trust me. It just happens. They're like, here you go, and you're like, cool.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
So now you continue to slowly grow and slowly expand, and you can go to like different schools and hopefully continue to expand and continue to grow. So how many schools are you currently in?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Here in Northeast Arkansas, at least half a dozen or more.
Okay.
Our goal is to do. There's a lot of. I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of poor rural areas in this part of the state, right? And so those are the ones that we target specifically. We do stuff with like Jonesboro schools, but Jonesboro schools has a ton of money, and most of those students are pretty well kept, right?
Mhm.
So it's your smaller schools. I know they've consolidated a lot here, but there's still a lot of areas that are primed for this, and they love it. They're like, "Thank you so much." They think it's the coolest thing ever. We got to deal with the Malco, where we're doing giveaways for Spider-Man next week. They want to expand out to Fayetteville and all their Malcos in the state of Arkansas. So it's really kind of just I guess grassroots would be the appropriate word. It's just kind of the little fire is getting bigger fire as it goes, So it's very exciting.
Very
So,
cool.
so schools that are budget challenged, particularly when it comes to buying, say, additional reading materials, those are the ones that y'all try to target.
Yeah, not just with backpacks, but also with books as well. Like their
Right.
libraries will donate graphic novels and things like that, for sure. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to donate to this, or if a particular school needs help, how do they get a hold of you?
So if they want to donate like money, there's links on the website. They can do that in my store if they're local. If they want to donate goods, they can do that here, or they can we've had people mail stuff to us. If they want to if they're a school, a doctor's office, we've donated to different counseling services for kids, that kind of thing. Anything like that, on the website, there's a request form.
Okay.
And they just go in there, they fill it out. It's really easy, who they are, the contact information, and what they're looking for. And then we're able to communicate that and set up. Like we did a local CYS donation this year. We actually had board games. We picked them up in Rogers. Somebody brought us a tub of board games. And the lady was like, "Do you have board games?" I was like, "Yep, we do." And so she took almost everything we had.
Wow.
So yeah, that's pretty exciting, right? And so I try to make it as easy as possible to either get the items that you need or to donate, money or whatever items to us. So
Okay. So the website is Bonesy Jonesy Comics. That's BONESY JONESYCOMICS.com for those who are listening.
yeah, you can go there and there's an Imagine tab that you can click on. There's also, you can go to, I think Facebook has the link directly to the Imagine part of the website. Eventually, the nonprofit will branch off to its own website. It's just kind of baby steps that we have, but it's worked out really well.
Okay. So yeah, if you go to Facebook, you can actually look up Imagine Arkansas on Facebook, and it will take you. He's saying that there's a link on Imagine Arkansas's Facebook page. It'll take you directly there.
And Instagram and TikTok.
And
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at us, huh? TikTok. Look at that.
I actually found you on TikTok, so yeah. Yeah, very cool. So not only does he have this, he actually has a book called Legend of Willa Jean Baker.
Yes, that's the rumor. The rumor is also, it's just crazy. I'm going to say it. The rumor is it's also going to release this Saturday at my store. Finally. So let me give you some history of this book. There's a story behind the story. So this book in 2024, which was a crazy year, right? We've already established this, right? Partners leaving, all this stuff. So it was originally a comic book. I had a publishing deal and everything. And so the artist that I'd hired, come to find out, he had used AI on the art.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we had to cancel the book. My publisher let me out of my contract because I'd already dropped like $2,000 creating this book. Comics are very expensive to make. You have page rates and all the stuff you have to pay. And so, that was a very frustrating year. Retail was also down that year. So it was very much a gut check kind of stuff. So I was like, why don't I just write it in a book? Because one of my grad degrees is in English and writing and all this. So that's where it started. And it took me about a year and a half. I worked on it. I didn't get in a hurry. I have all this other stuff going on, right? Nonprofit, whatever, and the store. And then finally, early this year, I finally finished enough to send off to an editor for, take a look at the pacing and everything. Then I got that back. And I was like, I can line edit this book. And I will never line edit a book ever again. But I saved myself $300. I will gladly pay that next time. But anyway, that's the story behind the book. And then formatting it for like Amazon and Barnes and Noble was its own special nightmare because, I'm going into this as a complete noob. So I didn't have it formatted for a 6x9, right? So I had to reformat it. And then when I did that, it messed up all the formatting I had. So then and the book's like 600 and something pages. So it takes 45 minutes to go through this book and reformat the whole thing. So anyway, here we are, and it's finally coming out. I'm just happy to get it. I'm like, please someone buy it so I can start on the next book.
So why don't you tell us what it's about?
Well, that would ruin the mystery, wouldn't it?
Getting something.
So the book. So true crime has always been one of my favorite things. Unsolved mysteries as a kid. I used to watch it in the dark, and it used to scare me to no end. But I all loved it, right? So sometime in the late 90s, I saw this interview with this teenager and her dad, and I'll tone down everything that happened. Essentially, she was taken and trafficked, and she survived. And the whole time I was watching this interview, I was like, what is this dad thinking? Because she was like, talking about, and he was just sitting there. I'm like, man, this guy has got to be on the inside wanting pure revenge on these people, right? For what they did. So I kind of logged that in my mental Rolodex. So when I thought about, 15 something years later, however it was, I was like, what do I want to write about? I was like, this story kind of popped in my brain. So that's kind of where the story starts is this father-daughter relationship. He's dying of this terminal brain cancer. And it's a weekend of her 18th birthday, and he's trying to tell her, but she only wants to go to this party. And so, they have this teenage dynamic, right? And so she sneaks out and she gets taken. Not like the movie, but you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so things happen, right? And then through all of this, he develops this ability, psychometry, I guess that's what it's called, to be able to see memories, right? So he sees everything that happens. And through the course of events, he takes on this vigilante persona called the Night Terror. And then, of course, the whole time that he's dying this whole time, right? And that's where the story kind of started. And then it built from there and it's all based in Northeast Arkansas into like the late 90s. So it went from there to this idea of, what if we have like generational trauma? What if we have like these ideas of corruption in the wealthy class and all this in this town? So all that kind of just mounted on top of it. So he gets involved in this turf war between the Southeast Missouri gang that's trying to take over Northeast Arkansas, and they're trying to take over that. It's a crazy story.
Wow.
That's
a lot of levels.
That was the G-rated version.
That worked.
So how long did it take you, Brandon?
To actually, well, if I would have done the Stephen King model, I'd have been done in 3 months, right? But it took me about a year and a half. And there was one point where I wasn't writing. Actually, I originally wrote almost half the book in first person, hated it. So then I went back and rewrote it in third person. And so it took me about a year and a half to get everything done. I would suspect the next one won't take that long though.
So what would you give, what advice would you give new authors to avoid, or what would you say to do or not do if they're thinking about writing their own first book?
Yeah. What did you learn?
Yeah.
Well, I think it really depends on the route you want to go. If you're going to self-publish, it's completely different. You have a lot more autonomy, right? Because you're not held to these like traditional ideas of book length and all this stuff. So if you're going to self-publish, I think first of all, you got to be able to market yourself. And and write something that you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's not, you don't necessarily need to give fan service. Obviously, you want to throw something in there you think people like, but ultimately, the story needs to be something that you enjoy. And then it's up to the audience to be like, wow, that's really good. I never thought of that. Give them something new, and not the same old thing, because even within my story, I mean, it sounds, it's a revenge stories have been done, but even in this story, it's not your normal revenge story. So I try to keep it a little bit different. Like if you've ever played the Last of Us game, it's a zombie game, but it's really about the characters more than the zombies, and stuff like that. So I really try to keep it character focused with the violence and all this other stuff kind of in the periphery, as just a side byproduct of what is actually the characters are going through. So I would say pick a story that you like, that you're passionate about, and just start writing. I'm not a plotter, so I don't plot. I have the idea of a beginning and an end, and then big moments, and then I just start writing, and then I just discover the people, and I let them tell the story to me. That's my approach. Not everybody's like that, though. I know a lady who wrote a book, and she plotted the whole book out, and I'm like, I feel like I'm back in grad school. I can't do that.
No, we call them planners or pantsers. We're pantsers.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I feel that's probably the best approach, because to me, that's the most creative part, right? Because that's the spontaneity and in the moment, because the characters will tell you what they want to do next at some point, right? When you discover
yeah.
Well, there's
characters do it.
Yeah, there's advantages and disadvantages, and of course we've talked about it in previous episodes, but as unrepentant pantsers, we're right there with you. So yeah, let the story come from you and flow as it goes.
I literally know the main character and basic idea of the story. I never know the ending, never know the middle. Really kind of don't know hardly any of the other characters, and I just write.
To heck with storyboarding blueprints. Yeah, those get out the window. No storyboards, no blueprints.
Nothing. I keep a running tally of the characters, and that's pretty much how it goes. So to learn more about Brandon and Imagine Arkansas, like I said, you can head over to his website on BonesyJonesyComics.com. That's BonesyJonesyComics.com, and look under the Imagine tab, or you can go over to Facebook under Imagine Arkansas. So there's links there. He's also on TikTok, and he's also on Instagram, right? Instagram.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So they're both there. But you can check out, it's an awesome charity, and they're helping kids all over Arkansas. So help them expand their reach, and you can do that. You can also check out The Legend of Willa Jean Baker come this Saturday. The book apparently is well worth the read, because it's been out there, it's been worked on for a year and a half. So make sure to check it out. We have a few minutes left. Is there anything you'd like to add, Brandon?
No, I just appreciate y'all having me on and giving me space to talk about the nonprofit. I really don't have anything to add, but thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, next week we have Sarah Garrett from the Golden Quill Writers President. So looking forward to have Sarah coming on. In the meantime, make sure to check us out next week, and we will see you guys then.